of the Gambia that this is not going to happen, because trees are the lungs of this world. So how can you rip off somebody's lung? If you take out the lung, there will be no life. So we went there very quickly. We managed to mobilize. That comes because of collaboration. So that's why it is important for us to collaborate regionally, and maybe sometime nationally. We go national. There is no point planting when your own government is coming, taking complete 8 hectares of land, give it to the Chinese for landing site for their heavy equipment. It doesn't make sense. We cannot have a government which is ripping off one of the most beautiful forests in the Combos now, the Monkey Park, for a conference center. So again we resisted, and eventually the government backed down. They're going to take the entire park, but it's not. So coming back to the youths, we are the present and also the future. I think it's about time the youths take ownership of this country, because we've seen previously how our decision makers they are not thinking beyond their noses. That's how I see it. So we want to educate the youth. Look, this country, we have nowhere to go. It's only here. And you look at the rest of the world. Now they are shutting their doors in our faces. They don't want us in. So why don't we educate our youth that if we sit here, protect our environment, we can be as beautiful as any other places, and we can live healthy life. Because trees are life. That is not just a statement. That's the fact. We are here in this world because of our indiscretion with the trees. And when we come to this earth as well, the first thing we use to cover ourselves are trees. So these are historical events. We have to reflect and think why that. Why Almighty Allah did it like that. Just to give us a practical example that you can't mess up with trees. If you do, you will go.
Trees are really important.
Trees are life. And I think you really made something very important, that is investment on the side of real estate investors. That, it's actually a huge problem. Because when you look at it now, real estate investors are penetrated every nook and cranny, every area of the country, and there are certain areas that should be untouchable. What has been your observation of this, and how has the issues of this nature been tackled?
This is my number one priority. I don't live in the country. I work and live in Saudi Arabia, but I do every week. I do environmental and I collaborate with Farmer Adrami. He's a Brufut Nation, but currently residing in the U.S. He's a trained environmentalist. Mine is just about person, but he's a trained environmentalist. So we collaborate and educate people. Gambia need to be zoned as soon as possible. It needs to be zoned where nobody can go here for settlement, and nobody can go here and cut trees. That need to happen, quickly. But the way government works, they all want to make a name themselves that can prolong their stay. So it's left to us, the citizens, especially the youths, to take a strong stand and tell them, look, we are the present, we are the future as well. You cannot destroy it for us and go. So that's why when we collaborate, we speak in one uniform voice. I think the government would sit and listen. Like what happened in Salaji, immediately the minister called us, the Minister of Environment. We were meeting him, and we're going to meet him again on the 18th. So if you speak in one voice,
to the AM show. Now let's take a closer look at the collective effort to support the health sector and raise public awareness on health matters. A group of young people called the Health Stars Gambia is making all the difference for communities across the country. with a strong health advocacy program that seeks to increase understanding of health issues affecting the population. Well, for more on that, we have executive members of Health Stars Gambia. Welcome to the program, gentlemen and ladies.
Thank you very much.
And in fact, the Health Stars are steadily becoming a household name, really, amid a new trend engaging young people in health philanthropy. Now, the Self-Help Association conducts regular community outreach and health screening programs visiting communities to support healthcare and ease access to vital medication, tests, and advice. That, I think, is a very good thing.
Of course it is. Now let's go get more from the health stars who join us live on the AM show. Welcome.
Thank you.
Now, many thanks for being with us, and it's amazing that the
let them have a self-awareness on how to prevent themselves on using simple measures or simple procedures. That will better develop the country, because like the resources you use in the hospital might be reduced, and also the burden on health personnel, and also the country spending on procurements, buying drugs and from other countries will reduce. Just using a simple measure to meet the public and then tell them the relevant information. I think the problem in the Gambia is like people don't understand what their diagnoses are. If they diagnose you with hypertension, they said, yes, just like Mandinkas, like they don't even know what is hypertension.
You're right.
And then what are the do's and don'ts, of hypertension.
So sensitization could help in prevention, actually.
Prevention,
that's it.
And generally, it would have an impact on the overall health of the community, because then we have decreased burden of disease, and just like you said, it affects every aspect.
And then too, early prevention, because sensitization can help in early prevention, because you will be diagnosed early, and then at the end you will prevent yourself early, because most of us socioeconomically they are disadvantaged, and then if the complications come out of hypertension, might be stroke, and then the family will struggle to pull out the last money what they have in their coffin. To be spending,
especially in a country like the Gambia.
Exactly.
Now, how often do you do this? I mean, do you do this sensitization, awareness creation?
The sensitization, I would say, it's a continuous thing. Meeting people in their community, that is, I will say that's not a continuous thing, because that has to do with a lot of preparations and fundings and the others. But then the community sensitization is on a weekly basis.
Okay.
We have this program that we do on Star FM. I don't know
radio show.
Yeah, radio show. Every Saturday, we have 1 hour of a radio show to talk to people, give back to the community, educate them on the prevailing health conditions. It's a continuous thing for Health Star.
It's a continuous thing, that is using the radio.
Yeah,
I mean, how often do you go out to meet the people, community? How often do you do that?
Okay, with meeting the community, that is, we do it, but it's not very often like the community, like the radio show.
But the radio also is
due to constraints.
Due to constraints.
And I was going to ask, who are the partners that you work with in your association?
The partners we work with is Star FM. Star, because Star gave us the green light to be doing our show free of charge. And then this is almost 3 years we've been working with them.
And you have the opportunity to reach a wider audience.
And also I think they are ready to promote us on some of that. And also the other partner is non-communicable disease condition of
unit at the
Ministry of Health.
On the health promotion.
And you guys are based in where exactly?
Or
you're just
Kairaba.
Okay. Because I was thinking of the International University.
The American
American International University. But then, in the health stars, we see a fusion of young people committed to national welfare and development of the healthcare sector. Can young people be separated from efforts?
Like,
Come again?
Like, can young people be separated from these efforts that are geared towards improving our healthcare? So, in a nutshell, why are young people so important in this crusade to improve our healthcare system?
I would say young people drive every country forward. Young people are the backbone of every country. So you can never remove young people from the development or the way forward of any nation. So young people.
That is because we are the present and we are the future.
Exactly. Thank you.
And I want to add, the Health Star is composed of different people. We have nurses, we have doctors, we have nursing students, medical students, public health officers. In fact, we have even non-Gambians involved, and they are just so passionate and dedicated.
And let's talk about the impact of non-profit organizations that are all working towards providing free healthcare services.
The truth is that the government cannot do everything. We are going through a transitional time. I believe that we all have to work together to complement the efforts of the government. And this is what the Health Star is all about. We have to help in the places that the government is having constraints. And therefore, it has a great impact, because even during our last outreach, going to a place like Banyaka, we met people that have very little access to certain healthcare facilities, and our presence there was able to help those people know that this is what is wrong with you, and this is what you can do about it, and this is even where you can go to get help.
So in a nutshell, some of them were even sick, but they didn't know.
Yes, they
Just to add on to what PRO mentioned, looking at that outreach, personally, the most touching part for me was we had 59 people, 59 old people, average age 40 to 60. Yes, but then out of the 59, after the health education, the screening, we came across 9 people who are within, the blood pressures are within a state that we call hypertensive emergency.
Okay.
Yes, as defined by the WHO. At that point in time, give it 24 hours or 48 hours. That 9 people, either 1 or 2 or at some point, a greater number of that 9 people can fall into a stroke.
Wow.
Or can have can develop another complication due to high blood pressure. 9 people within hypertensive urgency at that point in time. That is the most touching part for me.
Wow.
After we came across those 9 people, we were able to stabilize them, take care of them, control the blood pressure over 1 hour, 1 hour, 30 minutes to 2 hours, stabilize them, and then we referred them to the nearest health center, which was Banyaka Health Center, and that was just opposite the place that we conducted. So you can imagine the impact. 9 people within that hypertensive emergency state. At that point, you can run into stroke and run into any complication of high blood pressure. Yes.
The thing is like it's not only money. The best resource is in us. That's the experience, trained like a medical personnel. All what you do, we are all from communities, perhaps from poor families. So all what you need to do, the community send you to acquire something, and then you become a professional in health. All what you need to do, you need to go back and deliver. This is what we do. So what we have in our professional trainings, we need to go back to the facility and the communities and tell them exactly more on preventive areas and promotion.
Which is
and we've seen quite, an insurgence of a lot of these non-profit organizations like the one you're doing, and collaborative health schemes like this are very important. We're also seeing the likes of Chosan also involved in things like this. I mean, do you see this as a mark of our embrace of the future approaches to healthcare delivery?
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. As we move forward as a nation, we cannot leave health behind. Health is wealth.
It's everyone's concern.
It's everyone's concern. And the truth is that you cannot just be like, this is not my business. This is everyone's business. It affects everyone. And our focus is on every disease, but mainly on hypertension, diabetes, and even HIV/AIDS.
Why? You're focusing on non-communicable diseases.
Yes, non-communicable diseases. And that is because research has shown that hypertension and diabetes are among the leading causes of death in the Gambia. And in fact, an article that was published as recently as 2018 on the Journal of Epidemiology, International Journal, showed there was a research done in the Gambia, showed that about 1/3 of the adult population of the Gambia, ranging from ages 25 to 64, are hypertensive, and a majority of those people are undiagnosed. And that's alarming because we know very well that hypertension has a lot of complications. So as part of our development as a nation, we must put health forward, and we must all participate from the individual level to the community level and nationwide.
And then the other thing is like why we select or the greater percentage of their diagnosis are patients who have complications of diabetes and hypertension. So this is why we say maybe perhaps people are not having knowledge regarding this disease condition, so we need to go back. No,
we have clinics for that.
Yes, but
for hypertension,
health in general is supposed to primary health care is supposed to be accessibility, affordability, and also the other thing is like the affordability and accessibility.
It's very important.
It's very important because we have clinics. But majority of the Gambians cannot afford, because I work in provinces before acquiring a scholarship to do my degree. So you will be surprised to charge somebody to pay a ticket for $25. They will be pleading to you that they don't even have that. It's expensive. This is why they are even running away from some of the facilities.
And I would like to add that quite honestly, the burden of work at times in our health centers is just a little too much. Usually the physician and patient should have that counseling session. Patients should be told, explained about their diagnosis. But
especially when you have HIV, you have hypertension, you have diabetes.
Unfortunately, the burden of work, it's not that the health personnel do not want to do it, but sometimes the burden of work is just too much. And we know we are in a third world country, there's a lot of constraints in the health centers, and so the level of counseling that is required per patient is not always available. And sometimes it is minimal, sometimes it is in fact not available there. And so you can have a patient being diagnosed of diabetes, and that's it. They don't really even know what that condition is.
Now,
and
what are the
what can be done
and don'ts of hypertension?
Yes, basically hypertension, because we have different causes of hypertension, but majority of hypertension is of unknown
cause,
etiology. But we have risk factors. We have smoking. Cigarette smoking is a risk factor, obesity, overweight, alcoholism, genetic factors, that is the family,
sedentary lifestyle.
These are all risk factors for, and high salt intake, these are all risk factors.
That's hypertension and diabetes.
Yes, diabetes more of sugar, and diabetes can also be genetic as well. And also they share similar risk factors. Unfortunately, or interestingly, in other countries, when research was conducted, there is more burden of these conditions in the urban areas and less of it in the rural areas. Interestingly, in the Gambia, it seems to be the other way around. It's a very high burden of hypertension and diabetes in the rural areas.
Really?
Yes.
Why?
And well, according,
because when you look at the lifestyles, we're thinking are they living even more healthy?
That's what you would think. But according to some of the research papers, because we don't, unfortunately, there's a lack of statistics in the country in general. But from some of the research that has been conducted, it is seen that usually in the rural areas, they are more predominantly farmers. But because of the short rainy season we have in the Gambia, yes, the farmers, they would spend most of the year living sedentary lifestyles.
And when you say sedentary lifestyle, what do you mean?
As in, they are not physically active. While in the urban areas, we have industrialization, so we have more people working throughout, which is not seasonal. So throughout the year, people are working.
Right.
So those could be some of the factors.
Really? I'm surprised because in rural Gambia, you see women, working 24.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I think that's what she's.
Yes.
Not the nutritional content. So, and then majority of this diabetes and hypertension can be idiopathic, and sometimes you can have it, you might even not even know that you have it.
You are having.
So consuming those things, salt, and then adding another, tubes there in your foods might jeopardize or might endanger your situation.
Oh, fine. Now we know at the Health Stars efforts are focused on empowering individuals, families, and communities to choose healthy behaviors. How can this be achieved?
This could be achieved through not only through Health Star, through the government, some other NGOs, and then organizations, like you said, associations, through increasing awareness.
Right.
Of course.
For Health Stars, I think, I would say, increasing that awareness on prevention of diseases will be the main thing in helping us achieve a healthy state. Because if people are empowered, before waiting to get diagnosed, to get the treatment, prevent the complications and all that, we deemed it necessary to educate people, make them aware of these conditions, and prevent them from occurring.
Right.
Yeah, looking at the WHO, World Health Organization, divided preventive measures into three. You have the primary prevention, the secondary prevention, and the tertiary prevention. So the primary prevention has to do with you, as the healthcare provider or any other person, increasing the awareness of people at grassroots level, and then helping them to avoid the problem from occurring at all, which I think is the best.
It's the best.
Yes. So coming to secondary has to do with, okay, now the problem has occurred. How do you diagnose early, identify the problem, and treat? Then the tertiary has to do with avoiding the complications. But we deemed it necessary before getting up to early diagnosis and treatment, because it incurs cost, emotional and physical pain is there, the time, burden on the family, from secondary going up to tertiary. Before getting there, let's go back to the primary, which is increasing the awareness to prevent the problem from occurring.
Very well.
Yeah,
I think he's actually summed it all up.
Of course. But before we wrap up, finally, talk to us about some of your challenges.
Yeah, the challenges we have, as an association, you need to do some outreach. And outreach are not the communities we are living, hard to reach communities, because we say availability, affordability, and accessibility. We do a survey before going, that is the site visiting and then site selection. So hard to reach communities. If you want to go there, you need finance to gather some of the materials, because some of the medications requires, the association needs to pull out money to buy, and then maybe transportation. And also we do awareness campaigns like roadshow or school health on menstrual hygiene and reproductive health. So all that requires like some of your banners, your t-shirts, to prepare them, to provide it for the participants who are to join you.
So you use your own
if
funds?
you don't, we fund
ourselves
ourselves from our pocket. So if you are not strong, you might not even have the public behind you.
Well, that is why it's really important to partner with.
Yeah, this is why in
other
our
organizations.
constitutions.
So what are you guys doing in terms of partnering?
So that is even marked in our constitution. We are ready to work in partnership with any other association, being in the health sector or no health sector. We are ready, we are fully welcoming. And then we are trying, because of that, some of the senior members behind the scene help us to have a link with the non-communicable disease condition unit. And then we are working with the Star FM. They are also trying with us. And then some of the partners are just pending. They promised that they will join, but we are waiting. We are with open arms. We give green light to anybody who wants to join.
I will sum it up, all that he said. I think the main challenge is funding of our activities. That's the main challenge. Looking at it, the executives, we do this multi-contribution.
Okay.
Every month, the executives of the association, the other members, we don't charge, but the executives have an amount levied on them that we pay. And then we are lucky to have 1 or 2 members within our association who are outside. They occasionally chip in. So that's the money we use for all these activities. Yes.
Very
Funding is the main challenge.
To be frank, we will love to.
We want to see that the health sector is much improved.
Very well. I mean, thank you so much, guys, for passing through the AM show. It's been great having you. I mean, you've talked about, this was more or less like sensitization,
of course, yes.
Because you said a whole lot of things, and I understand why you were called the Health Stars. So we'll look out for more of your activities. I'm sure you have a lot more in the pipeline, on the pipeline.
Definitely.
So we'll be looking out for that as well. Wish you all the best in your endeavors. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, we go with a short break. We'll be back.
I'm sure we have much more coming ahead in the program, including a special conversation with young rap sensation, OG Lo. But first, let's take a break with Senabu Jain bringing us coffee with our special guest in profile this morning.
Please tell Coffee with, who was Yawa Konate before? before she became the founder and CEO of Yao's Creation.
Assalamu alaikum to all the viewers that are here with us. So, first of all, I would like to thank you for inviting me. It's a great pleasure to be here. Yawo Konate was just a young, humble person from a background of a business-oriented family, going to school, being a girl, growing up and going through societal influences.
What was it like growing up as a young Yao?
It was, like I said, because of the family background I have, I was very comfortable growing up, mashallah, alhamdulillah. So I went to school like any other normal kid, and then after I finished my high school, I was pretty stubborn when I was young. So my dad didn't take me abroad immediately like my other siblings, so I had to work. I worked with Great Alliance Insurance Company as an insurance clerk for 2 years before I left the Gambia to go and further my education abroad.
So you said you was quite stubborn. So I'd like to know more about that actually, because seeing yourself, right now I guess everyone grows and then they change and they become more, cool. So how was it like being that stubborn young Yaos and trying to, impress the family and your friends?
The reason why I said I was stubborn is because I grew up as a tomboy. I would play more with the boys than the girls. I liked sports when I was young, so I played football, basketball, volleyball. And I was the type, very early age, that loved my independence. And so sometimes my mom or my parents would want me to do something and I would do it the other way around. And, just to express my feelings in it. So the creative thing has always been in me. Sometimes my mom would buy me dresses and I'll cut them up and I'll do it to what I feel suit me best. Going to school as well, I had my own style. I would do my Afro puffs in my head. I would do style. Sometimes my headmistress, they said, Mrs. Ndao, may God bless her soul, that passed away not too long ago. She would, put me in the corner and call my parents and say, this girl, I don't know what to do with her. That's when she get really frustrated because I was always coming in different styles and stuff like that. So yeah, that's what I call stubborn.
What inspired you to venture into fashion?
Growing up, my mother was a seamstress and she used to sew for her friends and family members. I didn't really see that part of her, but I saw her running a hair salon. She had one of the biggest hair salons in the Gambia then. This was called Walidan Salon, and she would organize annual fashion shows where she would showcase hairstyles, but she would also invite fashion designers, and she would also invite artists to do entertainment. So I think this played a big part in what I am today, being a young girl, seeing that happening. My dad also had a big football team, and they would organize concerts annually to raise funds for the team. Seeing the person I am today. So the first challenge started from home because my dad wanted me to be a lawyer. And I started with that after I left here. I started with IT and law for the first year. But to be honest with you, I never enjoyed it. And I think that's because that wasn't my calling. So after the first year, I decided to go to another city, which was Leeds, Leeds College of Arts and Design, where I felt so comfortable. And I started doing decoration as my first arts venture. Or study, and after the decoration I did fashion. So I have a diploma in both decoration and fashion. So that was the first challenge, having to talk to my parents and convince them that I didn't want to do what they wanted me to do. And so coming back home, starting Yao's Creations wasn't planned because my plan was to come for holidays and see my family. So the second challenge was when I wanted to join the Fashion Designers Association. And why I said it was a challenge, because I kept going back and forth, you know, to join this association where I thought it was a Gambian association where all creative, especially if you were in, should be part of. But it was really tough for me. And so after that challenge, when I said everything was okay until we wanted to start doing fashion shows, because then what happened was there used to be only one fashion shows a year or so, and this was only when government have events, like let's say government banquets and stuff like that. There was nothing like just a proper fashion show like we do now. And so also that was an event because it was a new thing. I mean, that was a challenge because it was a new thing that people were not used to. Yes, if I may say a few, I think that what the beginning challenge were.
That seems like challenges that everyone in the fashion industry would, I guess, face. But then having to wait for big events just to have a fashion show must have been frustrating because you wanted to have somewhere to showcase your designs. Well, I'm happy now that we've overcome that and we're at another stage. So how do you see the fashion industry in the Gambia at this moment?
At the moment, I'll say the fashion industry is growing. It's so much better from when I started 12 years ago. And there's a lot of hope, there's a lot of potentials. We've had few designers that have been abroad to showcase Gambia, even though we're showcasing our own products, but we're representing Gambia. So this is a big thing. There's annual fashion shows happening, you know, about Fashion Week in Gambia. Yao's Creations does its own fashion shows from different backgrounds, be it you know, promoting the youngsters that are really, really young and in a form of a talent show or organizing a proper fashion show. I've done a fashion show wherein I've invited 9 international designers from Africa and Europe, and I think this is a big thing for the fashion industry. So definitely the fashion industry is growing. Gambians are appreciating Gambian designs, which is amazing, and we look forward to, you know, to more support from the Gambians.
Get into another level.
First of all, I would like to say that I think we need like fashion schools to start with. We need to teach the young from a very early stage about creativity, about styling. You know, like we need to have more fashion institutions. Thanks to Ida Sen, she's got a very good one going on now, and we need more of those. You know, from government level, from more private sector level as well. Apart from that, we would need to also have fashion institutions that would take students, let's say after they've done the fashion course, where they can go and do internships and do preparations in order to be able to make standardized clothing where we can be out there. You know, it's fashion, it's just like any other thing, or let me say any other kind of work background wherein if you're not producing anything to a standardized level, you know, depending on your kind of market, people like to wear good things and feel good. So in order for that to happen, we need to have the mechanisms in place to help us do that. You know, we need to have production centers where we can do clean finishings, neat finishings, you know, in order for us to be out there. Because just going to fashion shows and coming back is not enough. We need to go to fashion shows and have the buyers say, yes, we want to buy this and sell them here. And this is how we can help build more of our economy, because it's not just helping Yao's Creations, for example, it's helping Yao's Creations, but also the communities, also the country at large. So I would say this is the kind of support that we would like to have in place in order to be out there.
That's a very promising observation about the situation, and I hope people listening will actually, you know, take heed and try and work towards that avenue, because I think that's where we need to be. Yeah. This question is about the unemployment rate in the Gambia. So we know that it's about 65% young people, and we know that you have Yaos Creation. So we just would like to know, what is Yaos Creation doing in order to support, you know, help and get as many youths employed?
Interesting question. So Yaos Creations is still a SME. And if you come to our atelier, we have young people. We encourage both boys and girls, Gambians, to be more focused in tailoring. So right now, I have about 5 young people that are on internship. I take interns from different institutions, mainly with Gainjoro. And so this is what we do in terms of supporting the young people. But like I said earlier, we do create talent shows where it's all about promoting young people in order to believe in their talents and in order to become someone tomorrow. Yeah.
Then that's promising, because, you know, at least you have 5 that you're actually working with, and I'm sure those 5 will be able to be someone and actually train someone else tomorrow. Yeah, so that's the whole aim. So Coffee With would now like to know, this is my favorite part of the interview, what's your words of wisdom for young people that want to venture into fashion, that want to be an entrepreneur in any field that it may be, but are scared to actually start?
First of all, I don't think anyone should be scared of wanting to be anything in life. I think you need to believe. The first thing is always to believe that step. It's about focusing, it's about persistence, it's about discipline, it's about thinking out of the box and doing things differently and being original. You know, being original is very important because, you know, today a lot of people would see you working with GRTS, being a media personnel, and they want to become it because you're doing it. But they have no vision as to what direction they want to go into or want to be. As you know, the media is quite big in terms of different things you can do. So these are the things that I always give as words of wisdom: knowing what you want and going for it, but with discipline, with focus, with persistence, and with practice, you know.
So that was all we had for you in this session of Coffee With. I must say, the interview for me was very inspiring, knowing that Yaos mentioned something very important that I always use, which is be original. Being original is super duper key. You are yourself. You cannot be anyone else but yourself, and then that way you'll be able to find exactly what it is you want to do, and then you can actually take on these other words of wisdom that she gave and find yourself. So that was all we had for you in this session of Coffee With. I'm your host, Saina Bujang, and I'm signing out. Bye-bye.
Welcome back to the AM show. It's Breaking Live, bringing you a picture of a new day as it unfolds here in Banjul. My name is Fatulike Elika Buloshi, and my co-host is
Winifred Nicole.
Now, let's give you a rundown of what we've been following for you this morning. Uncovering a world of complex financial dealings, we explore the measure of former President Jammeh's shady financial transactions as Cabinet agrees to publish its report on the findings of the Janneh Commission. That paper will include the executive decision on the report.
Well, and reaching the natural cover to fight deforestation and stop climate change, we examine new partnerships engaging communities in tree planting activities. And teaming up to support the health sector, we meet the Health Star Club, driving collective interventions to sensitize communities on health matters.
In sports, another crunch encounter for the Scorpions as they host the Palanga Negras of Angola in the opening round of the World Cup qualifiers. We hear from the match organizing committee.
And elsewhere around the world, a difficult week unfolds for British Prime Minister Boris Johnson, who has lost several votes in Parliament which passed a bill blocking his move to achieve a no-deal Brexit. Johnson's bid for an early election has also been rejected. Well, let's stay with international stories, starting in the U.S., where retail giant Walmart says it will no longer sell ammunition for handguns or the most common military-style assault rifle. The moves come after one of its stores in Texas was a site of a shooting spree that killed 22 people. Well, details of that in the CGTN report by Jim Spellman.
No longer sell ammunition for handguns or the most common military-style assault rifles. This after one of its stores in Texas was the site of a shooting spree. 22 people died in that attack. In a statement, a deeply rooted place in America and our influence as the world's largest retailer. And we understand the responsibility that comes with it. In a complex situation lacking a simple solution, we are trying to take constructive steps to reduce the risk that events like these will happen again.
That's a huge step in the right direction. There's just way too many shootings.
Walmart stopped selling handguns in 1993, except in Alaska. It will now stop selling handguns there as well. The company stopped selling assault rifles in 2015, but still sells hunting rifles.
I would say personally, I would ban the guns from Walmart. Okay, that would be my judgment. But I can understand if somebody wants to argue the opposite. I don't think people need guns.
Get a handgun in the waistband.
The company is also requesting that shoppers not come to their stores openly carrying weapons. Several pro-gun shoppers have recently come to their locations armed like this. Walmart CEO is also calling on Washington to enhance background checks, remove weapons from dangerous people, and begin debating an assault weapons ban, echoing calls from the families of gun violence victims.
Congress, somebody needs to do something fast before another victim, another family, another kids without a dad. That's uncalled for. Please do something.
But so far, President Trump has been non-committal about backing even modest gun control measures. The Republican-controlled Senate won't bring gun control measures to a vote without the support of President Trump. It's entirely possible that no new gun control measures will go into effect ahead of next year's elections. Jim Spellman, CGTN, Washington.
Now, a terrible week unfolds for British Prime Minister Boris Johnson, who has lost several votes in Parliament, which has passed a bill blocking his move to achieve a no-deal Brexit. Johnson lost his parliamentary majority on Wednesday when a bunch of Tory MPs joined the opposition and formed a pact that took control of the House. The PM was unable to consequently stop a bill blocking a no-deal Brexit, but that was far from the end, as his bid for early election was also rejected by Parliament. Meanwhile, the EU's chief negotiator, Michael Barnier, says Brexit talks are currently in a state of paralysis. Mr. Barnier told diplomats from EU member states that UK was determined to stay away from the bloc's regulatory standards in any future trade deal, warning that any trade deal where the UK holds competitive edge over Europe, such as Paris, would be difficult to pass.
Professor of International Relations and Political Science at the University of Toronto, broke down the UK Parliament's Brexit vote and PM Boris Johnson's likely next move for CGTN's Mike Walter.
Mess. It is also a constitutional maze, and it would be very difficult for Mr. Johnson to go forward. On the other hand, the Labour Party is not in particularly good shape. The opposition is divided. The people in Britain have voted in a referendum that they want to leave the European Union. So I think even though it is such a messy situation, it may be premature to count Boris Johnson out.
You mentioned that they voted to leave the European Union, but it seemed like the choices were pretty simple about 3 years ago: Brexit or remain. None of this talk about a no-deal Brexit. How do we get from that point to where we are today?
It did indeed in the package that Britain was supposed to accept as part of leaving the EU, and this was something called the backstop. And this is a very tricky kind of element, because what it means is that they cannot have hard border between Northern Ireland, which belongs to the United Kingdom, and the Irish Republic. However, if they cannot find a solution that is not a hard border, then Britain would have to stay in a customs union, and that could mean that it would need to stay in a customs union possibly forever. So they've been trying to massage that. Prime Minister Theresa May tried to do that. She was not successful. She came to Parliament a number of times. Her proposal was rejected. So now Boris Johnson said that he will find a solution to that, but if they don't, he wants to have that backstop removed, and if the European Union does not agree, there would be a no-deal Brexit. This is what Parliament has rejected, and this was done with the help of some rebels, some like 21 rebels within the Conservative Party, those who range from skeptics about leaving to those who were committed Remainers, and this is what has caused not only a political mess, but also a major constitutional crisis.
And I don't suppose any of us could have predicted what's happened over the last 24 hours. Of the last 48 hours, but I'll ask you to try and predict what do you think is going to happen next?
Well, predictions are not a science at best. They are the art of conjecture. And so a couple of things are happening. And one is that even though the measures pass through the House of Commons, they have to clear the House of Lords. And there you are likely to see some stalling tactics, filibusters. And it is the hope of the Johnson government that its allies would put forth so many amendments, perhaps 100 amendments, they could run the clock down. If that doesn't happen, it is still possible for Boris Johnson to come back and try to pass a legislation whereby he could call an election with a simple rather than a two-thirds majority. And you see some fragmentation on the margins in the case of the Labour Party. And in the case of the Liberal Democrats, they would like to see an election because they are likely to make gains. But none of this has any certainty about it. In the meantime, the Europeans have suggested that there's not much point in negotiating further with Mr. Johnson, ironically proving his point that unless he can go to Brussels and say, give us a better deal or we will leave without an agreement, there's no leverage. So the Labour Party, which a couple of days ago wanted to have an election, now doesn't want to have an election.
Well, I just read a tweet that a senior Labour MP says that Jeremy Corbyn would go along with a vote, but the election would have to be after October 31st, which of course is the deadline. So that would mean, of course, the extension of all of this. What do you think is going to? Do you think we're going to get an election in October, and do you think who's going to win that tug of war?
It is a big question whether there will be an election, and the only way that Boris Johnson can get an election is if he can muster a simple majority and push that through the House. This is assuming that the delaying tactics in the House of Lords will fail. If there were to be an election, at the moment, there is a fairly decent chance that the Conservatives might win because Jeremy Corbyn is not well liked or trusted throughout Britain. I think this is one of the reasons why the Labour Party got cold feet. if the election is delayed past the deadline of October 31st, then Boris Johnson will look like someone who could not keep his word. There would have to be another extension. It would be dragging things on. There would be the hope that Boris Johnson would be weakened politically. Labour would have a better chance. And you could have this kind of indefinite, very messy kind of process of an endless move to get some kind of divorce, with the European Union trying to punish Britain to create a kind of deterrent, with the British people very badly split, but many, majority according to referendum, who wanted to leave because the benefits of being a member of the EU were very unevenly spread in Britain. Some certainly gained from it, but large segments of the population, many areas, sort of petty politicking. These are some very basic issues of what the European Union is about. Is there to be a supranational state? Is there to be a counter to German domination within the European Union? And several other matters as well.
A lot of issues. Most recent polling, though, showing a lot of folks in the UK not in favor of a no-deal Brexit, but we'll leave it there. Arl Braun joining us from Toronto. Thanks so much.
Statement.
And now a bit of sports for you, because all is set for the crunch encounter between the Scorpions and the Palanga Negras of Angola. The team has intensified training ahead of Friday's World Cup qualifier against the Palanga Negras of Angola. The team had a closed-door session at the Independence Stadium as Coach Thompson Finch lays down his tactical plans for the game. As part of a daily build up to the game, our sports center has been speaking to Willie Abraham, the chairman of the Events Management Committee, about the logistical preparations, and Langton Bontamba, the head of security arrangements ahead of Friday's encounter. Let's take a listen.
Tomorrow afternoon, the tickets will be out. We delayed it a bit to make sure that we have more security measures on the tickets. So by tomorrow in the afternoon, the tickets will be out. We are selling the tickets in all the AfriCell branches from Banjul to Brikama. And on the day of the game, if we have any tickets left, we will be selling them on the highway going towards the stadium, where the GNPC around that area. We will have some tents, some kiosks with security so that people can buy tickets. We are appealing, please again, let the general public have patience. The stadium can only accommodate maximum about 23,000 people. We are selling 20,000 tickets and not allowing any bags to come into the stadium. Anybody coming with a bag, you will be stopped from entering the stadium, because this is not our own decision. These are decisions that come from FIFA. They want everybody walking into the stadium to be safely seated. And these bags that people normally bring, they put bottles of water and other things which are not accepted in football anymore.
I'm happy to say that we have a security committee which is headed by Lieutenant Colonel Musa Jame and assisted by Captain retired Bakari Kambe. They have a security committee, and since long they've been meeting and strategizing and putting on all the plans that they will need in respect of this game coming. So I can assure you that everything that is needed to be done has been put in place. They're just waiting for the actual day to implement the plan that has been set. I think that should be a very important message. That is making a solemn appeal to the general public, just come into the stadium for that matter, to cooperate with the security. If the security personnel tells you, go this way, please just obey. Don't go this side, take the instructions. They will be here because they want everyone to be safe. They will not be here to act as enemies to the public. No, it is for their safety. That is why they will be here. Otherwise, we will not need any security. We just allow those coming to watch matches to go up and watch whatever happens. That is it. But we are going to bring security purposely to provide them with security. So I want them to cooperate with the security so that everything becomes easy for them and the security as well, so that they can have the chance to watch the match, without any disturbances.
And now let's get more on tomorrow's encounter from the Scorpions Fans Club, and we have with us the Secretary General of that fans club.
Very important for us to go out there and give our visual support and cheer the boys up, because that's what the Scorpion Fans Club is used to. And then our readiness also is like 130%. We are very ready for this game. And then, I know if you come to the stadium on Friday, you'll be surprised.
Okay.
Now,
of course, yes. Now, the Scorpions have called for increased, fan support to encourage and boost their chances of winning. Now, what's expected of fans on Friday?
Okay, because of that reason, we have camped since yesterday, the Scorpion Fans Club, first time in the history of Gambian football, and we are camping up to Saturday.
Okay.
And then, so because of that, we give a pledge to the national team that tomorrow we will make them win. The fans are going to make them win.
Because of the support?
Yes.
Oh my goodness, so that's going to be huge.
So we will have people from Bakau, Banjul, Birkama, up to Jarosong. Because this time, we want to organize it like, the whole country should come on support. Not only Greater Banjul area as we used to do before.
So logistical arrangements have been done to transport people to and
so we are, we even have some problems with this transportation stuff because we are doing everything for ourselves. But we have promises from other people that will, come and support the club. So people from Jara N also, maybe today they'll be here by 2.
Do you have a targeted number that you are taking from these communities? Because we have to be mindful of the capacity as well.
Yeah, because the stadium only accommodates for 23,000, people. So
yeah, that's very true. But this time we just make it open for them.
Okay.
Like people from Jara N and other places, we make it open for them. So by today, we'll make all those arrangements and see the authorities and give them the numbers that we are coming in with.
Okay.
Yeah, but this time we want every Gambian to support the team.
And of course, we know fan behavior can vastly affect the outcome of the games. How do you propose to ensure that fans and supporters comport themselves during the match?
Yeah, okay, maybe that message will go out to the fans outside, people who are coming individually, to respect the nation, to respect football, to respect their players, and to respect themselves too. Because if you misbehave, the security, personnel that are here, they are there to handle you, and they might handle you roughly. You understand, due to the nature of your behavior. But as far as the club is concerned, we always, try to talk to our men on ground, and then advise them, and then put something in them, because this is football. You want to win. The coach want to win. The players want to win. Even the president, GFF president, Kaba, want to win.
Of course.
So if you go to the pitch and then we don't have the, maybe we don't have the luck to win, you have to understand.
You have to control yourself, show discipline,
So because even you personally, if you are trying something you don't win, you don't beat yourself. You don't insult yourself.
Gambians are always angry because I think also because we want to see the Scorpions winning. And for a very long time, it's been quite, difficult to see them qualify for the World Cup.
Yeah.
So Gambians have this thing in them that they want to see them win. So when things don't go the way they envisage, they retaliate.
Yeah, so but this time I have confidence that we will qualify.
You're sure?
Really? Now, what's your best expectation in tomorrow's encounter? Are the Scorpions going to upset the Palangas?
It will demonstrate certain things within yourself, the happiness and the mood. Yeah.
I'm just afraid of the last-minute goals winner because a lot of times Gambians will play the matches until it's about to the match is about to end, and the last-minute goals come in. So in terms of the energy, the stamina, it has to be on point throughout the game.
They have to control it.
That's very true. But this time you will see that with the coach, the players, the technical side, and the fan base up there.
Well, I'll be waiting for my ticket, GFF officials.
And I heard they have strict, restrictions in terms of the number of people, even the press. Everything is properly managed, and they really, having very strict regulations around that end. But
that is because of FIFA. It's part of the, regulatory mechanism.
That's very important. But we had the organizing committee chairman talk about bags being prohibited at Friday's game. Will this affect turnout, do you think for those who want to pack some lunch along, we know people arrive quite early at the airport for these games. How could this affect the turnout?
No, but you know, in sport, we have rules and regulations how to enter stadiums and stuff. So as we all know, Gambians sometimes, you know, we can be very violent when things go the wrong way. So that's why they bring all those measures, and which is very good.
Of course. So when you say bags,
that's because
me
of
as
safety.
a lady, yes, when I come with my handbag too, I will not enter the stadium. I know guys have their backpacks as well, but if I also come with my little backpack, I will not enter.
Yeah, and secondly, what we want is everybody to go and support these boys. If you want to have your bag to go to the club, it's fine. But this time you are going to the stadium.
To the stadium, of course.
Okay? You can dress even like you dress like a sport woman, and then you go and cheer up the boys. You understand? Okay, that is a joke. But we all need our privacy and whatsoever. But you make sure if you are going to the stadium, you eat, drink, and relax yourself at home before you come to the stadium. You are going to support your nation.
Even having bags, I mean, when supporting, you know, there'll be, yeah.
But you can have your cross bag because you're going to put your
Moloshi, even cross bag,
Okay, Winnie is a sports person.
You know.
I'm not.
Even with
Lantomo
cross
will
bag.
be very happy of you right now.
For hearing that, exactly. I know, I get it. Well, the Scorpion Fans Club, they're ready for football spectator action to boost the chances of the national team as they begin another World Cup qualifier. We're definitely wishing the Scorpions the best of
all
luck.
the best.
Yes, and I'm sure you also at the Fans Club are ready to bring on the A game. I see how much energy they put into these games. They don't sit, they keep cheering them up throughout the 90 minutes. I mean, that is a whole lot of energy and something very, very great. And to know that you're not getting anything out of this, it's some sort of, you know, patriotism. Which
That is because they love the country.
They love the game as well.
Yeah,
So
you
tomorrow
love the
you are ready, indeed.
Yes, 130% ready.
Really?
Definitely.
Why not
That's why we
1,000%?
For 3 days what?
Camping.
Ah,
Only for this
so you guys had a 3 days campaign around the country.
Yeah, we
for
are
this.
camping right now.
Oh, camping.
Yeah, President our scheme.
So you are preparing yourself.
Our scheme, yeah. You know, so that we can bring things
to put
together.
things
and then
together,
fix everything
of course.
up.
It's
You know,
important.
we don't want to have any, you know, problem here.
Loopholes.
Yeah, no. Fix everything and then we just park and take it to the stadium.
Do we see you paint? Will we see like the ones we saw in the pictures, the paintings, and all over the body?
The how to call it?
The Gambia flag.
The watcher and the team. Yes, so far they will also come. And then you know we see. No, and then you see a lot of surprises also.
Okay.
Because as I said, this time we have a 3 days camp, and then
Look at that.
Yeah, we are into so many things. And then, you know, we will surprise the nation.
Now, you're into so many things. If you can just tell us some of those things. I know it is a surprise, but we have to know how really ready you are. What have been, you know, the arrangements that have been put in place during your 3 days of camping. Talk to us about that.
Okay, first of all, mentally, we have to, you know, build something with our people, which we are on it. And also, physically also, we have to build them up. And then new songs also.
Yeah.
Songs.
Songs,
New drumming.
New songs and new type of drumming also. And then even we have a song for our lead coach, Bonu Johnson. Yeah, which you know, we say, you know, we really because in Wolof, Safate, so something like that, and so many songs also. And then we even changed some of our old songs because we have some certain names that now.
Yeah, you cannot. I heard that in the last friendly match, and I was like, what? I hope they do change these songs now because times have changed. But Mr. Silla, we're wishing you all the best in your preparations, and we're definitely coming tomorrow to support the Scorpions as well.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much. Well, this is the AM show, and we have a lot more as well, including the papers, and we will look at them briefly once we come back from this short break. sure, well, tomorrow is going to be indeed a very spectacular one.
Of course, Moloshi, I'm ready.
I am ready too. Meanwhile, let's take a look at what we have on the papers here. And with us, we have the Standard newspaper. And a very interesting story here, written boldly in red, and it reads, demonstrations in December will wreck the economy, says GCCI, and they're saying demonstrations in December will wreck the economy. Quite interesting. Let's read into that story a little bit and see what GCCI is trying to explain here by saying the demonstrations in December will wreck the economy.
Of course, Moloshi, and it says Babukar Saho, manager for business development and projects at the Gambia Chamber of Commerce and Industry, has said that the economy of the Gambia is at risk if demonstrations happen in December. Members of the 3 years Jotna group have declared that they will take to the streets if President Barrow fails to respect the 3-year term agreed by Coalition 2016, which he led to victory nearly 3 years ago. Speaking to the Standard yesterday, Saho said the position of GCCI is that the 1997 Constitution, which provides for a 5-year term, should be respected as opposed to a gentleman's agreement. Interesting
there. So they're saying that we should hold on to the 5-year term, which is stated in the Constitution as opposed to the gentleman agreement. What that is going to, how it's going to unfold, let's see what that will definitely lead to. But also we have some interesting stories here on the front page of the Standard, and it says, Barrow consoles Gambians on Sadauda's demise. Gambia starts automatic brown card issuance, and Kamara, Mbalo, Kinte, Conte appointed ambassadors. Those are the lead stories on the Standard newspaper. For more on these, you can just grab a copy and see what are the trending stories today in our country.
Of course. Now, Moloshi, the President, His Excellency Adama Barrow, who on Tuesday summoned a special cabinet meeting to discuss the contents and recommendations of the Janneh Commission by Cabinet, whose outcome will be made public before the end of this month.
Interesting. And we look forward to the outcome of that paper. Meanwhile, before we go, we are running out of time. We just quickly look at the main items on the program before we go. Uncovering a world of complex financial dealings, we ask, what is the measure of former President Jammeh's shady financial transactions as Cabinet agrees to publish its report on the findings of the Janneh Commission? That paper will include the executive decision on the report.
Well, enriching the natural cover to fight deforestation and stop climate change. We examine new partnerships engaging communities in tree planting activities.
And teaming up to support the health sector. We meet the Health Staff Club, driving collective interventions to sensitize communities on health matters.
In sports, another crunch encounter for the Scorpions as they host the Palanca Negras of Angola in the opening round of the World Cup qualifier.
And elsewhere around the world, it's a difficult week indeed for British Prime Minister Boris Johnson, who has lost several votes in Parliament, which have passed a bill blocking his movement or his move to achieve a no-deal Brexit. Johnson's bid for an early election has also been rejected.
Well, Moloshi, that was all we had time for. Thank you so much for watching, and thanks so much to our able director and producer Ibrahim Ajata, and to our technicians, to our cameraman and camera lady here in the studio with us, Mariama.
Yeah, Mariama,
so
Aminata, and also
Aminata,
Ibrahima. It's been great having you guys stick to us on the AM show every single day, and we hope to bring you the weekend edition on Saturday, but also wrapping up what we've been looking for you during the week. It's been great, and I've been your host, Fatalika Baloshi, and my co-host is
Winifred Nico. Well, from us and the entire AM show team, thanks for being there, and do stay with GRTS and enjoy the rest of our range of interesting programs.
Bye for now.
SK City boy. So buge kale fi majare. So amul fi kendula konte. Buga nahe bis manit magare. Yera majai. Yena majai. Yena majai. Yena majai. Check yena majai. Yero ni tok ni juli nak chimbar njai. Yeah. Yena majai. Bugana hampi take it far away. Yena majai. Maybe it's my only way in survival. Never peak ass. I just never multiply. Yeah. My limit jai, buddy Killian. My limit jai, boy, I'm gonna khajul to billion. I got tracks and tracks and packs and packs. You know I ain't got bags of tracks, so grab some facts. Bugana jai, but I'm to roll while I stacks of cash. Bugana I'm limit jai, nigga go and ask to pass. I pass the test. Sometimes I feel bad about being a rapper. When I see this so-called rap cats and chats, I confess and all you do is this Jackson swag. Some millions in these facts, I'm like mud bass on crack. Yena majai. Yena majai. Yena majai. Yena majai. Yena majai. Siran money sene my time. Bulldog sikir to pub nye menga nyai. Yena majai. Tesare sumu tur sen bir kir menen Yusuf suma khanam stala suma ba. Yena my fight. I see you doorway. I'm gonna get the line jai. I'm gonna get the line jai. I'm not a tank in a pine. So buge kale fi majare. So amur fi kendula konte. Buga na khibes manit magare. Yena majai. Yena majai.